So, hey, everybody, this is Joe, a.k.a. Cinco from Cinco Doggos Mining, and we are here on the Bitcoin Mining Show, where we like to highlight the OGs of Bitcoin mining, the folks that need to get a little more attention because they're doing really cool stuff in Bitcoin mining. And today I get to sit down with somebody who I have a lot of respect for. I talked with him about a year ago on my other channel, on my YouTube channel, because I had reached out to him. I said, hey, this is super cool what you do. Let's discuss it. And this is Nate. And now, last time I talked to him, it was Nate with Iowa Mining. Now it's Nate with CoreX Hosting. So, Nate, thanks for coming back on, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
So
it's nice to be back.
Hey, great. I thank you for doing it. I appreciate it, man. So, it's like I said, it's been a while. Like we talk still, you know, we're on X and all that, but since the last time you and I sat down on a video, a lot has gone on with what you do. You mind kind of doing like a quick little recap of what's gone on with you in the past year?
Yeah. I should have looked at the old video. I'm not sure if I had the second site planned or probably wasn't even planned yet. So we opened the second site.
Yet.
Yeah, we opened a second site locally, 2.5 megawatts, air cooled. Actually, they're digital shovels, so pre-built pods.
Nice.
So have that up and going. So that was, January 3rd, we turned it on this year. And so been up and running, been great and no problems there. We have it a little over 2/3 filled, almost 3/4 filled. And so that's been doing great. And then since then we rebranded to CoreX. So after that, and the only thing we did was we changed the name, changed the website, changed the logo. Everything else is the same. And we had reasons for doing that because our plans to get bigger. And once you get too big, the University of Iowa doesn't like the name and the logo that's close but not the same.
Fair enough.
So if we got too big, I draw too much attention. So I preemptively we changed our name and stuff, and so we needed to do that, which is fine. So we did that in March, April, and then here just be honest that just this week we announced we're doing hydro. And so we're going to retrofit our old site, which you had pictures and stuff from what it was before.
Mm-hmm.
Most of those air miners were brought over to the new site, and we added new hosting for new people at the new site. But the old site, we're going to kind of retrofit for hydro, using some fog hashing equipment, and using the container and stuff because you can't remove the container and put a new one there because it's not flat and level. Mm-hmm. So we're just using the container there and putting the racks and stuff inside of the container. So we're just going to make it work that way. Okay. And electrical is already there and pretty simple. And so it's not going to be a big project. It's not going to be too costly. So that's what we're doing right now. So
nice. That is awesome, man. So if I can ask this, so you and last time I talked to you, it was you and your partner who was kind of your electrician buddy. Still the same two guys, right?
So he's doing all the work, but no, he's not a business partner anymore.
Okay.
He had a lot of his electrical job he was getting pretty busy, so he couldn't, he didn't think it was fair to be partnered with it when, yes, he'd set stuff up, but then he was kind of too busy after the fact.
Fair enough.
So I have a new partner, which is fine. And to be honest, it was really good because he had a lot of personal stuff that came up later. So like I said, he's still doing all my electrical work. He did all the electrical work on the second site. Mm-hmm. Like he still does it, but then he can go home and not think about it again.
Fair enough.
He needed that. So I don't trust anyone else to do it. He already knows what we're doing. So, we know it's going to get done right. And so, no, I have a different partner. It was actually a client of mine. And so then we partnered up for the second site, and we're partnering up for the third site that we're thinking about doing here and doing the hydro. And so, we're just two guys, but different second guy. So
there you go. All right. Well, and I'm assuming even though you're growing and you things are getting bigger for you, I know for a fact that like if I were to text you, you'd answer me. Like still the same great customer service, right?
Yep. Same everything. Yep. Mm-hmm. Clients, be honest, I was just messaging someone on the way here, in the car. No, everything's still the same. All my clients have my number. Even though we're planning on getting bigger, even though we're planning on doing more, they still have my number. And, I just got to work a little bit harder. That's what it really comes down to. Yeah. Answer my phone a little faster. And if we have more miners, just, work a little harder or make it work a little bit better. So I have less stuff to do. So that's kind of the end game. So.
Right on, man. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's jump right into this, especially with all this cool new stuff that you guys are doing. And this is kind of a big deal because as more hosts out there, the solid
Yep.
hosts that we can have trust in as miners, are getting into things other than air cooled. That's becoming kind of a big thing now to know who
Yep.
does it and who doesn't, because a lot of
Oh yeah.
people don't.
Yeah.
CoreX is getting into hydro miners. Why is
Yep.
that?
I think it's the future. We think it's the future. We think that in 2 to 3 years, and we've seen this with the new products coming out, the S23s, Bitdeer comes out with their A4s and stuff. They are, and what's miner as well, they are pushing the hydro miners more. They're pushing the hydro equipment more, the containers and that kind of stuff. So that's not what the average person sees. They just see the new miner. But from what we're seeing, just the industry in general, that's where they're pushing to. Mostly because the power's in the hot areas, and so air miners don't run as well when it's hot out. So that's part of it. Also, um, you know they just run better. Period. Hydro miners just run better. They're cooled better. There's the fans and all that. They're cleaner. I was in a big container that we're looking at, and it's been sitting there for 2 years. They don't even have anyone on that's there every day because they don't have any issues. It's clean inside. It's not dusty and dirty and all that. It's not loud. Like there's so many different positives just from uh, from an industry standpoint, not just the miners, just from our standpoint. It's way better long term.
Mm-hmm. About a little over a month ago, I had a chance. Brains and the guys at Pleb Source opened up that
Yep.
6 megawatt facility here in
Yep.
Houston, and
Yep.
got to go down for that and check that out. They did kind of like a little meet and greet for it, and got to walk around back behind the scenes. And I got to tell you, I was amazed when I saw those hydro setups, and then
Hmm.
when Nolan. At Pleb Source was kind of walking us through, like, let me tell you why we're into
Yep.
this, and
Yep.
explain like the efficiency, there's like
Yep.
virtually no loss as long as you're monitoring your numbers, how these systems run like bleeding
Yep.
edge perfect. I was
Yep.
sold, man. I was
Yeah.
completely sold on the hydro thing.
Yeah, yeah, and so we just think that's where the future is, and so we're doing what we're doing here is just more on a small scale, uh, 0.8 megawatts at our first site, and we're just gonna do that, load it up real quick. I promise you, the second we load that up, like I said, I mentioned we are doing a third site. We're If Bitcoin was back up to 80,000 like it was a month ago, would have already pulled the trigger, but since the
Mm-hmm.
price came down,
Yep.
we're just waiting a
We
second
gotta
here.
wait a little
Uh,
bit. Yeah.
we're waiting a second here. But if we sold out our 75, 80 miners, here within a month, we're gonna pull the trigger on that third site. And so be honest, that's already set up. So that's a lot of stuff there. But we think Hydra's the future. The miners are way better. If we can kind of talk about some specifics too, but just everything about it is the future and better. And so that we've been looking at it for 8 months, probably not too long after we talked last time,
Mm-hmm.
but we didn't make it public because, as you said, other hosting companies are starting to do it. And so, it's part of copycat where they're trying to keep up with the Joneses,
Mm-hmm.
and, some of them are going to get left behind. Some of them already invested way too much money and they can't pivot, or whatever the case. So,
Mm-hmm.
we kind of kept it quiet because we didn't want a bunch of people to know, but we've been planning this for a while now. So,
I don't blame you. And that's a huge pivot doing this. Like, this isn't
yeah.
just flipping a switch like, oh, we're going to do hydro instead of air.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into this. It's not, this is not an easy pivot either. There's a
Mhm.
lot of learning that has to go on behind the scenes before you could even turn those machines on.
Absolutely. And be honest, you can't just buy a hydro unit.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to go Bitmain? Or if you go Bitmain, then you can't use Bitdeers and What's miners.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then you have to figure out how the racking set up because, Bitdeer has the square models,
Mm-hmm.
square form factor. Well, you can't put a 2U unit in those because the water's on the front,
Right.
the connections. So if you buy the What's Miner Bitdeer models, which is the server style,
Mm-hmm.
with the water plugins on the back, I can't switch those.
Right.
You buy that container, it's set up
That's
that
how
way.
they're
It's
built.
done.
Yep.
Correct. So then you have to, which way do you go? Because you have the Bitmain that it sells itself just because of the name brand, or do you get the What's Miner because you think that's what the future is?
Mm-hmm.
And so, we had to study that, which way we're going to go, and there's so many different factors. I think the daily making them run is not going to be that big of a deal. People, get a little bit scared of it, but I
Mm-hmm.
think it's going to be once it's set up and running, it's not going to be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Right on. Okay, so let's talk a little bit for maybe our folks out there that don't know
yep.
too much about the difference between air cooled and hydro,
Okay.
if you don't mind. So,
Yes.
from your standpoint, what are the biggest differences that you see between air cooled and hydro cooled miners?
Yep. So if we talking just Bitmain, they're pretty much the same efficiency. Price wise, Hydro's gonna be cheaper. And if you look at not the price of the miner themselves, price per terahash. That's what when the miners are getting sold, they're actually sold at price per terahash, and then either they just write a big number on it when they sell it on the website or whatever. But price per terahash is the kicker. So right now the S21XP is roughly $15 a terahash, 13.5 watts per terahash efficiency. Okay, so that's the best air miner out. The What's miner M73S, so their best hydro cooled, same efficiency, is just over $12 a terahash.
Okay.
Okay, so I mean we're 20% difference in price. Okay, for the same efficiency. So yes, the miner itself is more money because it's 500 and something, 550 terahash,
Mhm.
but it's cheaper per terahash you get.
Right.
So that's one of the main differences. The good thing about Air though is you have all the other miners. And I know you're mostly a Bitcoin guy, but if you want to get into the Zcash, that was a big thing here a month ago, and it still kind of is.
Hmm.
Caspa back in the day, or
Right.
or Dogecoin. There's more Dogecoins for Air. It's not quite yet for Hydro, but it's going to be. So there's more options for the Air for
Hmm.
these other non Bitcoin miners. And so that's one of the main things. Otherwise, you have the sound, just from the
Right.
industrial standpoint, the sound, the power is a lot more on hydro. It's a three phase. It's 2.5 times as much power per miner. Yeah, that's kind of the main stuff. That's different, I
Hmm.
guess.
But and some of the things that I noticed, and we touched on this just a minute ago, but like first of all,
Yep.
maintenance. My,
Yes.
my air cooled, everyone's air
Yes.
cooled, so you have more points, more pain points of breaking that you've got because the fans will blow
Yes.
out. You've got dust moving through it. You have all these opportunities for things to go wrong.
Yep.
I don't see that as much from my studies in the hydro cooled miners. You don't have as many pain
Yeah.
points and break points.
That's be honest, that's a very, very good point. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you have, yes, you have the fans on the miners,
Mm-hmm.
but what's the intake look like? So yeah, you brought up a much better point than I did. What's the intake look like? Do you have good intake? Do you have good exhaust? Or is that exhaust coming back in and you are recirculating it? Or is it actually getting out and not coming back in? Do you have, good cut from the hot side and the cold side? So that is, you have to really think about that with air. You have to really plan that out.
Mm-hmm.
With hydro, you don't have to. You just have
Nope.
to make sure that radiator is nice and open and running. And
Right.
so the water is going to do its thing. It's going to go through that radiator. I know when I went to visit a hydro site, they clean the radiators twice a year. So that's not a big deal. It's not too
Mm-hmm.
crazy. And, us cleaning filter walls, we do that more than twice a year, you
Yeah.
know. So it's kind of both ways. So,
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, and you were talking about your price per terahash and whatnot. So
yep.
yeah, you might spend a
Yep.
little more for the mining unit itself on the
Yes.
get go, but because it's hashing higher and it's got a good efficiency, your
Hmm.
your return on investment, you're going to pay it off faster than you would, dollar for
Yep.
dollar for an air
Yep.
cooled. You're
It's
going to pay it
20%
off
cheaper.
faster. Mhm.
20% cheaper. So
Exactly.
you're gonna pay it off 20% faster,
Mhm.
more or less.
More or
So
less, right?
yeah. Yeah, and then once efficiency is the same, but then
Mhm.
yeah, if Bitcoin goes up in price, you don't care about efficiency. You just want as much hash rate as you can. You have the higher hash rate model,
Right.
and you paid less for it. So there's a lot of pluses there. So yeah, if you're buying one today, there is no reason to go air for Bitcoin miners.
Mhm.
There's not. You're paying more, you're getting the same or slightly less.
Mhm.
And in general, they're usually not quite as reliable. Like we talked about, there's more pain points, like you
More
said.
pain
So
points. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
Gotcha.
if you bought one today, there's no reason to go air going forward.
Hmm. Okay, so like let's talk about for you as
Okay.
the guy, the foreman who's running the site there with these hydro miners. Okay,
Yep.
what's an average day going to look like for you, like, or a week, like what you're looking at, things that are different from the air cooled side of the house. What are things
Yep.
that are different, and what are you doing there, like that you have to monitor, things that you're like cognizant of, like, okay, now I need to pay attention to this.
Yep. So I'll be upfront. I don't have them running yet, so
Hmm.
I'm assuming what I'm going to have
Sure.
issues with or have to keep in mind. So
Hmm.
a lot of I know at the very beginning when you're loading miners in, so if into a container into whatever you're going to load miners into it, you have water in there, and then the miner comes on, so that actually makes your total amount of water more. So then you have to keep adding coolant as you go. So keeping that coolant level where it is. make sure everything's kind of pumping and leak, and then make sure there's no leaks. There's only a couple connections from like the pump CDU they call it out to the radiator, goes through the radiator, then comes back in. So there's two and two.
Mhm.
I think that's pretty much all for connections. Um, the miners themselves are gonna be pretty good. There's not a ton of stuff to keep in mind other than the leaks,
Mhm.
but honestly, like I said, most of those places, once you set it up right, you don't have to worry about it. And
Right.
once you have all your miners on the shelf and running, and you don't add or remove, the coolant's gonna be just fine. So
Mhm.
it's not like you have it's not gonna be a big deal,
Mhm.
adding or removing coolant. So I don't think it's gonna be as much as to think about as normal.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
It seems like once you find your happy place on that
Hmm.
with your coolant levels and whatnot, because it's a sealed
Yeah.
system. So,
Hmm.
closed loop system. Once it's closed up, as long
Yep.
as, all things being equal, you're just watching numbers at that point. Just
Pretty much.
watching
Yeah.
numbers.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not too worried about it.
Now, on that note, just for our folks out there that are home miners, this is not something you're gonna buy one of these and stick it in your garage.
No, I saw some that are like you could do one or two miners, but the problem is what miners you can run on them. I think they have to be on three, and I don't think they can be on 240 volt. So you
Mhm.
can't even put them in a garage.
Right.
So no, it's not. They're full 380 to 480
Mhm.
volts. They're full
Yeah, these are
fledged,
big boy miners.
miners.
Yeah,
Yeah.
these are big
So
boy miners.
yeah.
Mhm. Okay, I just want to make sure I got that out there because I know there's somebody that's going to think I'll go ahead and I'll buy one of these. I'm going to stick it in my garage. And it's like, there's a
No.
lot that goes into this. There's some infrastructure that has to be there for these hydro miners. It's not
Yeah,
just
and
plug it in the wall.
absolutely. And that was, I'll share more about what that infrastructure looks like, but no, you're 100% right. There is some home units, but then like I said, I think there has to be three phase. So then
Hmm.
I don't know any homes that have three phase by default. So yeah,
Right.
that's not a thing.
Yeah,
So
I don't think I'd be allowed to do that here. I think my homeowners
no.
association would get a little mad at me, and so would ERCOT. I think they'd get a little
Yeah.
ticked if I was trying to put that in here in the neighborhood. So yeah,
Yeah, no,
I'll just use
I
you.
know who to talk to, so I probably could get it done, but it probably wouldn't be cost effective
Yeah, yeah,
for me to do it.
exactly right, exactly right. And that's kind of the thing I wanted to get to with that is
Yes.
cost effectiveness. I mean, it's you're better off using a hosting company with this that can handle it. So
Yeah, and then
absolutely.
yeah. No. Yeah, you're just send it to me and we'll call it good.
Exactly right. And just on that note, so talking about that, um, do you think, and this is kind of just like, opinion and speculation, do you
Mhm.
feel that like moving forward, hydro is going to completely replace air cooling?
Um, I think yes, but not as quickly as people think.
Okay.
I think it's maybe 5 years from now, probably. 2, 3 years from now, no, I don't think so. Because they are going to come out with air miners for S21, for Bitgear's A4s, the L11s. They are going to come out with air miners. So then, like this next generation, there'll be air miners available.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, I don't think the manufacturers are going to be pushing their containers and pushing the supply. So, they'll be pushing the hydro miners. So I think in 2 to 3 years, no problem. In 5 years, like that second generation from now, probably not. I,
Okay.
I could see hydro being 90% of the market type of thing. Maybe some off miners, but not as many as we think.
Gotcha. And that makes sense. And, something I've talked about with a number of the guests we've had on so far on this series is, what's going to happen in the future. Like we're still waiting to see more information on S23s. We're trying to
Yep.
figure out what's
Yep.
going to be the next big thing. I'm going to Mining Disrupt next month in
Mhm.
Miami just to see if anybody's going to be talking about things. And every one of the people who have bigger brains than me that's in mining, when I've asked them the question, what's next? Almost everyone has said the wheel is not going to be reinvented in Bitcoin mining. It's going to be efficiency. It's getting what
Yep.
we're doing now and just making it more efficient. And
Yep.
Hydro seems to be one of the main avenues for that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Um, and this is maybe a little bit off subject, but not too much. When we went from the S19s to the S21s
Mm-hmm.
in efficiency jump, that was a big jump. That was
Mm-hmm.
like a 80% reduction. Or I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry. Um, it was not quite half. It was like 80%
Mm-hmm.
of half. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that is. I don't have. I'm not thinking too straight right now, but it was a big jump, is what I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
say. Now, from the S21s to like the S23s, that jump is not going to be as heavy.
Right.
Okay, it's going to be a much smaller efficiency percentage jump. So I don't think like the hash rate's not going to skyrocket like it did with it when the S21 started coming out. The market's not going to go crazy, and that's right now because of price. But if the price was normal and fine, you're not going to see a huge jump in hash rate.
Mhm.
So when they say that everything's going to, they're not going to reinvent the wheel, it's going to keep getting better. That it's much smaller gains than they used to.
Right.
So being if you're buying a miner now, you shouldn't be too afraid of a year or two now something new coming out because that new thing's not going to be that much better. Is
Right.
my thought.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Like and again, like that FOMO that people had between the
Yeah.
S19 and the S21. I mean, that was like I've got to convert moment. Like I can't compete with it, right? Like I've got a pallet of S19 sitting here in my garage.
Yeah.
You can't see it behind me because of this thing, but
Yeah.
I've got a pallet of S19Js sitting here. I can't even turn them on at these prices. It's not
Oh yeah.
that would be insane. I'm better off to
Yeah.
just DCA at that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely, totally agree with you. And I think that's what it just be incremental efficiency gains is what we're going to see. And that's kind of what
Mhm.
I'm hoping to see at Mining Disrupt is kind of what these manufacturers talk about. Like here's our focus for the
Yeah.
next few years with
Yeah.
our product line.
Yeah. And the reason I say and just look at numbers, your S19J Pros, 100 terahash.
Mm-hmm.
The S21s, just the base S21s were 200 terahash.
Right.
Roughly a little bit more power, because they went from like 3,000 watts, like 3,500,
Mm-hmm.
but twice as much hash rate.
Right.
Where the S23s was only 300, so it was only a 50% jump, not a 100% jump.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's what I mean by they're going to get better, but their big jumps are already done.
That's
you know
happened.
what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until the next whatever epoch of equipment comes out, whatever that may be, which I can't even
Yeah.
think about what that would be at this point. But you're right. I believe it's going to be just things they can do with their existing models and
Mhm.
pushing those efficiencies. And yeah, hydro is probably the way to go. This is
Yeah.
kind of an off topic a little bit, but have you even heard of anyone in 2026 pushing immersion? Because I have not.
I maybe, but not where I'm looking at. I have no interest in it
Mm.
from a hosting standpoint.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I'd be in it if I was doing it at home.
Mm-hmm.
I know other YouTubers have done it, and their systems, and they're good and bad.
Mm.
But I just, there's only so many models built for it, and there's not a lot of new ones coming out that are built for it.
Mm.
And then it gets dirty, all that immersion fluid and stuff, and you're trying to
Mineral
mess
oil,
like,
yeah.
yeah. So I don't want to deal with that. So maybe not where I'm looking, but I'm not looking at it at all.
That's
So
what I figured too. Yeah, I kind of think that was for lack of a better term, it was kind of like a blip in the radar. It kind of hydro came out and it was like, but we have this over
yeah,
here. Why do that?
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, and it's not messy. So
yeah,
that's great.
yeah.
Um.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah. So just talking about now with CoreX,
Yep.
you're still doing air hosting as well. Like that's not going away, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the second site we built, it's going to stay air, for 2, 3 years, 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
I got clients that have brand new S21s and brand new L9s. They're going to run those things for a couple years, so, I'm going to keep hosting them and run them. There'll be other miners coming out. And there'll be some people that, like we talked about with the hydro miners, they're more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to go that far in, but they want the same efficiency. So they'll buy a little bit cheaper ones, buy the air models at the time. So, no, we're going to have air at that site. We'll see what that looks like in 3 years. But it takes, when you're looking at hosting companies, it takes a year or two to pay stuff off. So you can't just pivot 6 months into it. So
Right.
no, we thought about that, and no, we're going to be air hosting those or hosting those air miners for foreseeable future at that site.
Fantastic.
So
Great. And still same procedures. Like for the air miners, I mean, it would be like if I purchased one from my choice of retailer, I buy a brand new S21 or whatever. I can coordinate with you and coordinate with them and have my air miner shipped directly to your location.
Yep.
That's still permitted.
Yep.
Mhm.
Air miner, yes.
Yeah.
Hydro, no.
Right.
Hydro, I'm going to force people to have to buy through me. Now,
Mhm.
with that being said, my prices are going to be the same or better than the competitors out there. I've looked, but I'm going to force people to buy for me because the hydro infrastructure costs money and I got to pay it back some way. The air miners, to be honest, none of us are making a ton of money off selling air miners, so the lost revenue is not that big of a deal. I'd rather have you hosted with me. So, for air miners, yeah, you coordinate with whoever, send to me. Hydro, talk straight
Call
to me.
me.
Well,
Mhm.
yeah.
Call Nate
Yep.
before pulling any triggers.
Yep. Yep. And they're
Yep.
all listed on my website and everything. So yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
We'll
that's
go from there.
CoreXHosting.io. I'll make sure we have that all in
Yep.
our show notes for everybody so they can go check out
Yep.
your really cool new website.
Yep.
Great. Okay, so what kind of if you don't mind, just quick on
Yep.
this, what kind of things, what kind of equipment did you guys have to start installing for this hydro setup?
Yeah, so be honest, just before we got on video here, delivered this morning was all of the hydro equipment. So it comes in three pieces. The dry cooler, so the big radiator
Mm-hmm.
that's going to sit outside. Hoses going through it, so that's I guess I didn't count those, but
Mm-hmm.
the dry cooler, and then it's going to be connected to the CDU. The CDU is like the pump, some of the electrical stuff, kind of the controls, the computers, and that kind of stuff. So that's in a rack, and then next to it is a server rack that has the power and stuff, and then networking and stuff. And so there's three pieces. And so we ordered those in our setup. You know, it's not a pre-built container. And so we ordered four sets of those. Okay. And it's the fog hashing H200 is the
Mm-hmm.
model. We ordered four of them. So that's 800 kilowatts, zero point 0.8 megawatts. And so we're going to set the CDU and the racks inside of our container. The dry cooler is going to sit outside and have the hoses going back and forth. And that's how we're going to set it up here and do it in this situation. So,
Gotcha.
yeah, to be honest, the power, the way my electrician did it, he's not afraid of all because he had the electrical come into the container,
Uh-huh.
and then he had disconnects there, so he's going to connect into there and then go to each rack, and so
Mm-hmm.
he's thinking it's simple. Yeah, it's probably gonna have some new wires and stuff than what's already there, but it's not gonna be a big long run or buried or anything. It's all right there. So
Gotcha. Okay.
yeah, he thinks it's pretty simple, which I don't know better.
Hey, yeah, exactly. That's fantastic. It's always good when the
Yeah.
smart guy, when the expert thinks it's simple. So I like
I
that.
sent him a picture. I go, hey, I'm gonna want to do this. How hard is this gonna be? He's like, that's easy, no
I
big
can do
deal.
it.
I'm like, okay.
Right on. Yeah. I'll tell you, those fog hashing units are cool, man. I got to see some
They
of
are.
I got to see some of those units when I went down for that brains opening, and holy cow, I was
Yep.
impressed. And down here in Houston, they were doing this, since they were putting it next to it was near an open field, and it had
Hmm.
rained for like the whole week before that. There was all like these, we call them love bugs. It's the little
Yep.
bugs that are like connected to each other by the butt, and
Yep.
there had to be like 10,000 of them stuck to the fog hashing outside
Oh
the
yeah.
radio. It was kind of like one of those things when I was taking the video. I was like, those poor bugs got all sucked into it. But the thing was running, like, I even asked, like, I was like, does that affect it? They're like, nah, man, these things run
Yeah.
primo. So
Yeah.
I was impressed, and they're not as loud as I thought they would be either. So
No.
not as loud.
No, we're looking at that third site. So that was the thing came up was loudness, because where we're going to locate them and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't use if we did the bigger containers, we were going to use giga containers. But fog hashing, the ones you looked at with the 2.4 megawatt ones
Yeah,
with
big
the
one.
dry coolers on
Mm-hmm.
top, they all make the same thing. There's like four different brands that all make roughly the same idea.
Uh-huh.
So those are not as loud. I think it was like 60 decibels at 400 feet or something, which
Okay.
is not that far.
Nah.
Or it's yeah, 60 decibels is
Mm-hmm.
us talking right now. It's
Exactly.
not that loud.
Right. Yeah. And from your site, I mean, your nearest like neighbors, from like just from the pictures I can see, I mean, like
Oh yeah.
there's like a road in the way and stuff. Like they
Oh yeah.
can't hear your stuff.
Yeah, so that's our new site. That's an interstate, and that's
Oh,
louder.
yeah.
Yeah, and so no, that's a completely different situation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an industrial area with no sound limit, and that's next to a highway that's loud as hell and busy. And
Yeah.
so yeah, in that
You're a blip.
situation,
Yeah.
yeah, sound's not the problem. And to be honest, there's actually a place next to us that has some trying to think. They have some stuff that goes on outside,
Okay.
like these big not generators, but something like
Stuff
that.
machinery.
Loud,
Mm-hmm.
very loud. And so that is louder than my stuff, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we're fine at that. My new location's fine.
That's awesome.
So
That's awesome. Okay. So, we've kind of been like dipping into this a little bit, but like Bitcoin mining moving forward, this is a kind of a
mhm.
common question I ask everybody. As
Yep.
miners, we're always thinking about this, right? What's the next thing? What do you see? Like, what are your opinions on the future of Bitcoin mining? What do you see coming down the pipe? Short
Um,
term, long term.
I guess we'll see. Everything's going AI, and
Mm-hmm.
so the Bitcoin mine, I think Hydro's gonna be the future from there. So like you'll see the Hydro containers and you'll see the Hydro miners. I think that's the way that's gonna look. In general, in the entire industry, everything's going AI, which Bitcoin mining is still going to be a thing. What it's going to be affected by is if there's a good site, AI is going to pay a lot more than the Bitcoin miners or hosting companies, whoever, to buy that site.
Mm-hmm.
So then the good power sites are going to go to AI.
Yeah. The
So
higher
then,
dollar. Yeah.
so then is it, maybe this fits better for me where I'm looking for small-ish sites, 2.5, 5 megawatt, maybe a 10 megawatt, something smaller. So that's too small for big AI companies. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So then, I'm gonna have to fill the holes where they're looking for the big to take over everything. So we'll see how that goes. I don't have a really good guess what that's gonna look like. It's gonna affect it somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Is kind of what I'm trying to say. Is kind of keep that in mind. Um, Otherwise, I had another talking subject, another thing to talk about there. I forgot what it was, but AI is gonna affect it. I think more negative than anything, and so we'll kind of see how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
And how crazy AI is going to be 3 years from now, I'm not sure yet.
Who
You
knows?
know, is it going to still be as big of a deal as it is now? I
Mm-hmm.
don't know.
Yeah.
I
I don't think
because I
anybody can predict that accurately.
yeah, I'm afraid that all the big companies are switching to AI to do stuff, and it's going to be more expensive than they thought it was.
Yeah.
I've been seeing that now too. So
Mm-hmm.
then it's like they're gonna cut back on it. So from a Bitcoin standpoint, right, from the short term, the good sites are going to be gone, but those good sites going to come back up in the future, maybe,
Yeah.
and then we'll kind of see from there.
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly. And you never know, they might come at a discount. Right now, AI kind of,
Hmm.
I like AI stuff. I'm not gonna lie. I have my AI. I
Hmm.
run off my Umbrel node. It helps me with
Yep.
my business. So I'm not against it, but the industrial
Yep.
AI stuff, there's a lot of, you see it in the news all the time. There's communities that are like, they don't really know about it, but they're
Yep.
afraid of it. Like Corpus Christi, Texas.
Yep.
Corpus
Yep.
Christi has like their city council has put like a full hard stop ban on
Yep.
anything coming in there AI related.
Yep.
So there's,
I,
they have some
I,
challenges we don't have in Bitcoin anymore. So,
and we're gonna get lumped into that
mm-hmm.
because the public doesn't know. They just think, oh, Bitcoin mining's like AI, but it's not.
Compute is
And
compute.
so,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and so yes, we want a lot of power, but how we use that and the negative effects for the like we talked about sound.
Mm-hmm.
AI places have sound problems too,
Right.
but they also have the water. Well, we were talking about our hydro, my CoreX's hydro. It's a closed system.
Right.
So once I put the water in, which is not much, and be honest, it's not. I'm not taking it from the sink.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not recirculating or taking the water in like those big AI systems are.
Right.
So, that's what the public thinks that's an issue. And so there'll be a lot of Bitcoin people that might get negatively affected just because they think it's all AI or all data centers.
Mm-hmm.
But being able to describe that to the general public that doesn't know better, they just think, oh, data center bad,
Right.
or, Bitcoin farm bad because it's a data center. So getting past that's going to have to be conversations that we're going to have. And when we're talking about, I'm looking at our third site. That is a conversation I might have to have with the city council.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not for the small one, but if we did the bigger site, it'd be something to talk about. And so I've already, started brainstorming what those talking points are. Hey, we're not the same. Hey, when it gets really hot out, I'm going to shut off. I'm going to curtail. And
Right.
so I'm not going to negatively affect you or drive prices up when it's hot out because that's
Mm-hmm.
what Texas does and with
Right.
ERCOT and so forth. So there's like you have to have those talking points, and there's a lot of benefits, but and we don't have the negatives that AI does, but people
Mm-hmm.
don't know that. So just have to have
Education.
that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely right. No, that's great. And you've been doing this long enough in your area. You
yeah,
probably got a pretty good reputation already with folks there. So,
yeah,
yeah.
yep, yeah. I grew up here, and me and my dad know kind of everybody in town. So
Mm-hmm. That's
I think we
awesome.
talked about this last time.
Uh-huh.
Uh, if we need something done, we know who to call. We know who to talk to. And
Mm-hmm.
so if we do a third site, it won't be local.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little bit different. But honestly, we have the power company at the third site. They called me. They wanted me to come down there.
Fantastic.
So when they want me down there, they want me down there tomorrow. And so I'm dragging my feet because of like we talked about with Bitcoin earlier, but
Mm-hmm.
they want me down there tomorrow
Mm-hmm.
because I helped them out, just the way the power works and
Right.
stuff. So
Yeah, and that's a good point. Like that's something that I
yep.
don't think your average like home Bitcoin miner understands. Like how a hosting company,
Yep.
one of
Yep.
these mining farms, that it becomes part of the local infrastructure, and it's
Yep.
actually a good thing once the power
Yep.
companies know it. It's the
Yep.
general public that, again, and
Yep.
it's not their fault. They're not exposed to it. So now
Yep.
we kind of have to educate them about it.
Yeah, and they hear some of the negatives, which could be true, but
Mhm.
just it's not all encompassing. It's just certain things, and so they just think it's all bad.
Mhm.
So, um, yeah, no, the average person doesn't know better that a Bitcoin farm can help a power company quite a bit. Just
Mhm.
the type of power, being able to curtail, being able to stick me wherever they want, because that's kind of a big plus is what we're looking at for our third site. I'm going to go next to a substation that they have not quite enough power at because they have a solar farm sitting right next to it that they want to use 24/7, but they don't always have enough demand
Demand.
to
Mhm.
use it. Where they put me next to it, I'm going to have plenty of demand, and so then they can use that full solar farm
Mhm.
and then move some of the power else. Like so, I'm going to help them out.
Right.
So there's little benefits like that where they can stick me in different places and they can kind of I can raise up and fill the gaps that they have. And so that's why they called me and say, hey, you want to go here? We can put you here. We can put you over here next, for the fourth site. And, we'll see where that goes.
That's
But we're pretty
awesome.
excited.
Mhm.
Like I said, we would have pulled the trigger. If Bitcoin was at over 80,000, we would have pulled the trigger already and have
Sure.
stuff on the way. But when Bitcoin dumped here, it's like, okay,
Gotta wait.
let's see how this
Mhm.
goes here in
Mhm. Yeah.
another month or two. So,
Yep. Yeah. It'll go
um,
back up. It's just now we just got to wait for it to happen.
yeah,
So I feel
yeah,
you on that.
yeah.
That being said, I'm trying to think of something else that kind of goes along with that. Do you see home mining and by home mining by extension,
Hmm.
uh, small guys who host with a
Yep,
company like CoreX?
yep.
Do you still see that as we move forward? Do you still see that as being a viable thing in Bitcoin mining, or do you think it's just going to be like overrun with the larger mining farms?
I think the larger mining farms are going to get less and less because the big boys are going AI.
Mhm.
So I think the perfect thing right now, the home mining is taken after in the last year or so. A lot of these, the pleb source, like you mentioned, and some other stuff. I think that's great because getting someone to have a little $200, $400 unit at home to play with, figure out how it connect to a pool, how to get it run like that. Just that knowledge is great,
Mhm.
and it's cheap. Someone can buy it at as it's not a big expense.
Right.
But once they do that, that's just a lottery ticket. But then they can move into hosting with something like buy a miner or two with me. You
Mhm.
know, I don't think one should take over the other because you can't do a lot with just a bunch of home miners.
Sure.
But yet the average person doesn't understand what's going on when they buy a hosting unit through me. They just they signed up for a pool and they just see numbers on there, but they don't know how that happens, how we get to that point. And so you need both. So no, I
Mhm.
like it. I like that the home miners is becoming more of a thing, being reliable and just having people use it. I think it's great. So
Fantastic. Yeah, I love it. And I think that's the natural we've said before on the show. It's like the small boys, the home miners, those are like your gateway
yep,
drug, right? You get the
yep,
guy that buys one of these and he learns about the pool, like you said, he learns how
yep,
things work. He, connects it
yep,
to his cold storage wallet, whatever. And then the
yep,
next thing you know, he's like, I want more.
yep.
Right. And then you
Okay,
get to that
yep.
point where your wife is sick of you unplugging the dryer so you can
Hmm.
plug in your miner in the garage and it sounds like a
Yep,
freight train.
yep,
So that's when you pick up the phone and you call the hosting company and you're like, I'm ready to
yep.
pull the trigger and ready to start
Exactly.
jumping in deeper. And
Yeah.
that's just the natural evolution of mining.
Yes, exactly. Because then what if I tell you a miner, you know what I'm talking about. Oh, that's that miner that has that hash rate. Okay, that one's better than this one for this reason. I know what the differences are and
Mhm.
so forth. And so yeah, no, you can't have one without the other. Jumping straight into me is not for everyone,
Right.
but then only having home miners is not good either. You need to have both. So
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. And I do. So
yep.
like I to
Mhm.
completely agree with that because that was the natural evolution.
Yep.
And these
Yep.
like there's so many companies like Canaan and them coming out with like the Q and
Oh yeah.
this stuff that you're not getting just a 1.2 terahash bitax anymore. Not knocking those, but you can
Yep.
grab like a Q for a
Yep.
little over $1,000 and you already
Yep.
have something that's like a pool worthy miner.
Yep. Yep.
Wow, right? And
Yep.
then from there, I think it's just sky's the limit at that,
Yeah.
or bank accounts the limit, I guess is the way to put
Ye-
that. But
Yeah, yeah. How
mhm.
much you want to spend?
Exactly. How much do you want to
Yep,
spend? And that's
yep,
me talking to my chat GPT AI at night, late at night, where I'm saying, okay, if at this current price, if I reinvest my pool earnings, how many months until I can add another miner to the
Yep.
farm, and that's
Yep.
I think a lot of guys go through it. A lot of people go
Yeah.
through that.
Yeah. And by the way, don't trust everything you hear on ChatGPT and numbers.
Yep.
Those numbers aren't always accurate.
They're
Double check
hardly
it.
ever
But
accurate.
oh
They're
yeah.
hardly ever accurate, but like, because I'll question it and I kind
Yeah.
of crap talk my AI. Tell you what, I'll be like, "That's
Yep.
crap. You know, it's crap.
Yeah.
Give me the real number."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I have spreadsheets that I keep updated and so forth. So like I'm
mhm,
pretty good at that kind of stuff, but
mhm.
I know those chat GPT numbers are not accurate, so
Yeah,
don't put too much stock into it.
yeah. You always got to ask 3 times. That's what I find. You got to ask 3 times and kind of whittle it down, and you'll start figuring out where it's a little bit closer. So,
Yep,
absolutely right. Yeah, trust but or don't trust, verify.
exactly.
But okay,
Exactly.
cool. So on that,
All right, guys, quick shout out to the sponsor of today's episode, Altair Tech. If you've been thinking about getting into Bitcoin mining or scaling up your current operation, Altair Tech is who we use at Cinco Doggos Mining for our hardware. They're veteran Bitcoin miners, so they actually understand the equipment they sell. They ship fast from the central US, keep a large inventory of in-stock ASIC parts, miners, PDUs, and accessories ready to go. Whether you're starting small with something like an Avalon Nano 3S or scaling into the 200 plus professional mining rig range, Altair Tech has the gear to help you grow. And if you're new to mining, they offer free consultations to help you choose the right hardware and strategy. So head on over to altairtech.io and use discount code CINCO at checkout. That's altairtech.io, code CINCO. Altair Tech. Mine your independence and start stacking sats the sovereign way.
so the future's looking like for mining. The future's looking like there's a good opportunity for hydro miners.
Yep.
That's cool. They're super efficient.
Yep.
Air's not going away, but again, efficiency is going to be the king, especially moving forward. Efficiency is the king. And
Yep.
if Bitcoin, we had that big year last year where it jumped, and
Hmm.
then it kind of scaled back and went back into, I don't know, we'll call it like a realistic band.
Yep.
So now efficiency is what's the most important thing, not
Yep.
adding more hash rate just constantly.
Exactly.
That being said, with you guys at CoreX starting to kind of do this pivot where you've got hydro coming in,
Yep.
this is going to offer more choices for people with you.
Yep.
Newer hardware. Do you find, and I'm kind of going off on a tangent with this, but have you found, and I'm not asking you to advocate for a specific brand or anything necessarily, but have you found that there's personally any of the hydro miners that you like, that you've been like, I really like these?
So, we're kind of not putting everything into, but we're going what's miner for the
Okay.
hydros.
Good company.
Um, yes. And so, they've been around for a while. I've had their error miners. I mean, they're legit.
Mhm.
Bitdeer is great, and they're pushing the boundary of some of the numbers and stuff. Like, so that on paper they look really good.
Mhm.
And so those two are the ones we're gonna go with.
Okay.
I'm saying what's miner a little bit more just because they're cheaper for the same efficiency.
Okay.
So, and I don't see there's no drawback there. It's not like you're getting a worse product, is what I'm trying to say. But Bitdeer is announcing the A4s, and so like they're pushing the envelope there, but they're a premium price.
Mhm.
So that's kind of where I'm going at. What's Miner is great because they have quite a few different models. So, kind of figuring out like I want a hydro miner, here's my budget, and I can give you like 2 options or 3 options, that fit that budget. I have quite a few options there. Where Bitdeer has, 2 models, period. And so like What's Miner has a lot more choices. So that's kind of where I'm going. Like I said earlier, we had to choose to go that route, the server at. So I can't even
Right.
look at Bitmain.
Right.
So yeah, so that's why I have to go those other route. And that was part of my decision when we decided to go that route too, is because we had good products in What's Miner and Bittier that if we could only buy those, I'm not
Okay.
worried.
Mhm.
So
Hey, fair enough, and that's a good thing, and that's kind of like just to throw that out there for people that are watching this.
yeah,
Don't just buy a hydro unit and then just wherever, and then give a call to a host and say like, okay, I want to have this delivered to you. They
yeah,
might not have the infrastructure to do it. You got to make sure
yeah.
you're getting what they can support.
Yeah, and there's other hosting companies out there that do hydro, but they have different setups, so they
Right.
might not be able to host What's Miners and Bittiers, and
Right.
so it's both ways. So
Right.
whatever hosting company you go with, preferably me, but whatever hosting company you go with, talk to them first, and so they'll tell you what they can and can't do. Because like we talked about earlier, on the Bitmain, it's a cubed, it's a square form factor, but the water plugins are on the front. where what's minor and bit tier, the water's on the back,
On the
and you
back.
can't change that rack. I mean,
Right.
you can't change that. You can't have hoses run over it doesn't work like that. So
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, talk to us first.
Yep. And last Saturday I hosted at the 10th anniversary AMA for Via BTC Pool,
Yep.
and one of our guest speakers on there was one of the bigwigs over at What's Miner,
Hmm.
and from
Hmm.
MicroBT. And it was actually cool having him on there because one of the questions the chat asked was, "What is the focus for What's Miner moving forward?" And the repetitive topic that he had for us was efficiency, better price per terahash that you're getting, and making sure every product they send out is tip top, ready to go, and it just performs for you. And
Yep.
that's their focus moving forward. So that's a telling thing right there.
Yeah. And they've always been good. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they're M30s or M50s or M60s and now they're M70s. They've been great products, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So, you know, they have a long list of, you know, of years of doing good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, I'm not afraid one bit to have just what's miners going forward.
Right on.
And what he said too, price wise, they're cheaper. You know, they're cheaper than the Bitmains, than the Bitdeers for the same efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not getting worse product. So
Yep. Yep. And they have good they do have good service when it comes to warranty
yeah,
work and stuff. I've seen that.
in US, yep.
Yep, in the US they have good service for it. So that's always a plus. All
Yeah.
right, cool.
Yep.
So anything else before we start getting, because we're kind of coming toward the end of our conversation here.
Yep.
Um, went by quick. Uh, any other things about CoreX? Anything that you want people to know about? Like what's coming down the pipe? Anything? Hey guys, know this. Floor's yours.
Yeah. Nothing too crazy. It's all hydro, and that's all we're doing right now. So, today is the 11th. I'm not sure when you're going to release this, but we're talking on the
Tomorrow
11th.
morning. It's
Yep,
going out tomorrow
perfect.
morning.
The hydro's gonna be up and running July 1st. That's our goal. Okay,
Awesome.
the electrician's scheduled for the 30th of June, and if he has to, comes back on the 1st. But July 1st is our goal.
Right
And
on.
so, like I said, all the equipment got delivered today. So, um, that today is that we can start ordering miners right now. I've already started taking some orders. They're gonna get delivered here, you know, a week or so before that first date, and it's gonna sit on it. So when everything's up and running, plug them in and go. So that's everything we're doing right now is all hydro. Yes, if you called me and said, "Hey, I don't want to go hydro, let's go with some L9s," done. You know, I got room for about 125 miners.
Wow.
Or we can do S21 XPs or whatever. So if you wanted to go air, let's do it. So that's, you know, kind of right now it's just with the price of where Bitcoin is now, it's just let's load up what we got, you know, keep everything going, get this hydro set up, and when Bitcoin goes back up in price, the miners are going to go back up in price too.
Yep.
So keep that in mind. Where do you think Bitcoin's going to be at 6 months or a year from now? If it's going to be higher than what you think it is now, the price of the miners are going to be higher.
Yep.
And so, you know, and so, yeah, that's kind of all we're doing right now is is hydro and just kind of maintaining and slowly building on what we have right now.
Right on. And just so folks know, you don't just do Bitcoin, right? Like you'll do
Oh
script
yeah.
miners and
Oh yeah.
Zcash and
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we had a bunch of the Z15 Pros, you know, that batch that just got released. We had a
Yep.
bunch from them. And I actually had a pretty interesting video about getting those deployed that first day. So
Mhm.
that was pretty fun. But no, I deployed a bunch of them that night. So everything I do is when I get a miner in stock for a client, it gets deployed that day. I tell people 24 hours, but it's that day. And so those Z15s, I got 17 in. I deployed them in 2 hours that night. Had to run 3 hours to go pick them up because
Oof.
they didn't get delivered. The driver had a family emergency. So I was the next stop. Family emergency happened. He just left town. And so I'm like, I'm here waiting. I'm waiting for these miners. So I had to go chase them more or less.
Man.
So,
That's good
so yeah,
customer service, Nate. I'll tell you that. That's good customer service.
drove 3 hours and came back, deployed him that night, got him up and going. So
That's awesome. And I'm trying to think what else. I'm going back a year ago to when we talked to things that might be
yep.
different, but I mean, your customer service is still the same. It's still top
Yeah.
notch. I've
Yep.
got no concerns with that. Do you have like for the air cooled miners? Do you
Mhm.
have any that are like that are there that maybe like someone is trying to get rid of? Do you got anything like that you do that you'll kind of help facilitate a deal?
Yep. Every now and then,
Mhm.
kind of let me know, and I might know a client that's thinking about it or something like that.
Okay.
Um, every now and then I'll post on X that, hey,
Mhm.
this guy's selling something. I just posted like 4 or 5 days ago. I'm selling some L9s,
Mhm.
and an L7s, and so I got those sold. And so every now and then I'll have something come up, but it's not like I have a list.
Right, not like an auction website. Yeah.
Correct,
Right.
correct. And to be honest, most of the time it's usually older miners that aren't profitable anymore. Any of the newer profitable ones, they're not getting rid of them.
Sure.
So it's not, yeah, it's let me know, but don't expect me to have a list of stuff waiting for you.
Absolutely. And let me see here. Real quick, just as a reminder to folks, don't just buy a miner and put CoreX's address on there and send it and then just expect things to happen from there. You got to have a conversation with Nate beforehand. So make sure you
Yep,
go over to the website. There is a contact form. You can
yep,
drop your information in there. He'll reach out
yep,
to you
yep.
and walk you through there is a process to this. Okay.
Yeah,
So make sure you do that. Don't jump the gun.
yeah. Be honest, in that contact form, put your phone number. I'll call you and we'll
Yeah.
just talk, and
Mhm.
then we'll walk through the whole situation. So, and that's for any hosting company. That's not just me. Don't
Right.
just, yeah,
Right.
just double check. And most of the time, we're all going to say, yeah, we can do that. Just double check.
Mhm.
So,
Perfect. Okay. Yeah. Other than that, I'm going to start wrapping
yep,
this up, but,
yep,
so corexhosting.io is your main website there. I'll make sure we have the stuff for that.
yep.
You have different X socials now for it as well, right?
Yeah, CoreX underscore hosting. I
Okay.
just changed the name. I didn't like redo everything. So if
Right.
you're friend, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So CoreX underscore hosting. Same with YouTube, same channel, just renamed it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's CoreX underscore hosting. Just search it.
Yep.
Just Google it.
And I'll
Yeah,
make sure I
it'll
put
come
that
up.
up on there for everybody so they can see it because
Yep.
you're still doing your YouTube videos.
Oh yeah.
Good.
Oh
Good.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Well, I think we've kind of hit everything. I think
Okay.
this is good information for people who are interested. Number one, in getting into hosted
Yep.
mining, if they aren't at that point and they're getting ready to. People who are ready to pull the trigger on maybe switching from air or supplementing with some hydro so they can get into
Yep.
those better efficient, more modern units.
Yep.
And knowing that there's places here in the U.S. that you
Hmm.
can host with somebody that you actually get their phone number. I'm holding up my phone. You can't see it.
Yep.
You get their
Yep.
phone number when you're gonna, the person who's monitoring and taking care of your equipment for you at the hosting equipment, like you do. Um, yeah, man, I think that's the way to go. That's like step three. Step one, buy little boy miner. Step two, buy something a little bigger, and then get the desire for more hash rate. And step three is call a hosting company and start getting
Yeah.
that set up. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. So, no, we're ready. Just let me know. And I have clients that have one miner. I have clients that have 50.
mhm.
So we'll figure out where in the between you want to go, and I'll make it work. Not a problem.
Right on. All right. Well, so gonna wrap this up then. Really appreciate you coming on and talking about this, especially kind of short notice. I didn't give you a whole lot of time, so I appreciate you making time in your busy schedule to do that.
Yep.
And probably have you back in 6 months if you've got time. See how things are going. After 6 months after July 1st, you're gonna have this hydro like going. So it'll be interesting to
Yep.
see where that's at, man.
Well, hopefully, like I said, we saw these slots here at this current location. We saw all those. We're buying a third site. So
That's gonna be
then
great.
that'll be about 6 months from now.
Mhm.
If from
Wow,
pulling the trigger, it'll be up and running in about 6 months.
that's
So
fantastic.
yeah, so then maybe the week after we talk.
Man,
So
I might have to take a trip up there and get a tour from you at some point, man.
that one's gonna be a little bit closer to you.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
yeah,
all
it's
right.
a little bit not that close. It's not in Texas, but it's closer to you.
Okay. Well,
But
all right.
yeah, it's we're meeting about halfway.
Okay. Right on. Well, we'll look at
So
that when that time comes then. So,
yep,
all right,
yep,
cool. All right. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate you coming on.
sounds good. Thank you for having me.